I'm Dan Thompson here with Andrew Hickey at the New York State Golf Association offices in Jamesville, New York. Today we're going to talk about the Amateur Series Championship as well as the Amateur Series events that go on throughout the year. First off, Andrew, I'm going to ask just to talk a little bit about the Amateur Series, describe both opportunities it provides for players around the state and some of the benefits they have.
Well, the Amateur Series is a collection of individual net tournaments that we run at mostly private, but also some higher end public facilities across the state of New York. They give players of all abilities, ages, and genders the opportunity to play in events conducted by the New York State Golf Association, which means you're playing under the rules of golf and you're playing under tournament conditions.
How has the Amateur Series developed and grown since its inception in 2009?
Well, we kind of stole the idea from the Vermont State Golf Association back in the early 2000s, and we tried a few events here and there. And in 2009, I was actually the intern at the Golf Association, and Scott Gerbero had kind of taken the series over. And at that point, we were running 6 or 7 events, mostly at public courses during the week, and we would get anywhere from 20 to 50 players max. So as an intern, I kind of looked at the series and thought that there was some potential to grow it because other golf associations had done that, and they had pretty robust series where they had thousands of entries a year. So I kind of looked at what they did and what we were doing and put together a proposal on how we could change our amateur series at that time called State Days and grow them into a more robust series for players.
So with these events, what do you think inspires such strong participation levels? There's always a wait list for these events, and they're filling up every time. What do you think is the driving force behind that?
I'm not sure if there's just one thing that drives players to compete in the NYSGA Amateur Series tournaments. I think being able to play individual stroke play competitions where you're playing your own ball, not in a captain and crew format, is one of the forces. But playing really exceptional golf courses, usually when they're in their best condition, I think that really has a lot to do with it. Plus, people have the opportunity to play in competitions with their friends. You can either sign up as an individual or sign up as a foursome. We allow that in these competitions.
There's usually a strong presence of officials out on the course, volunteers, committee members. How much do you think that affects the pace of play, certainty that people are playing by the rules in amateur golf, and does that do a lot for strengthening the overall quality of the tournaments?
Well, one of the facets of tournament administration I was looking at when we put together the proposal to grow these series was to make sure they were part of the NYSGA overall umbrella of tournaments. And that means that wherever we run the tournament, we're going to have a presence of not only NYSGA officials who act as rules officials, but staff members there to make sure that it's run in a consistent manner. It's really important to us as an organization that all tournaments are conducted, number one, by the rules of golf, and number two, in a consistent manner. So, in some areas, especially where we have a strong volunteer base, we'll have 3, 4, 5 volunteers who are out there monitoring pace of play, making sure that we're playing in under 5 hours a lot of times, in 4.5, which is great for 96-person shotguns. And that if people have rules questions, that they're able to ask at any time, and the officials will actually call players on rules that they violate. Now that can be sometimes a touchy situation just because not everyone knows how to play by the rules, but in stroke play competitions, you have to play by the rules. It's not one of those things where you can say, well, I didn't know, is that okay? Well, it's okay. You're not going to be disqualified, most likely, but you still incur a penalty if you did indeed break the rules. So I think having a strong presence of officials and staff on site is actually one of the driving forces behind the participation because it shows our investment in the events and our seriousness in running them.
Sure. So looking at the numbers, you have quite a few more amateur series tournaments in Albany than the other regions of the state, Syracuse, Buffalo, Rochester. What's the reasoning for that? Is it that courses are more willing to hold your events at that location, or is it because you feel like you have more numbers of frequent players that are in the Albany area?
Well, when we were just starting growing the series in 2015, we ran 28 across the state. Even in 2010 and 11, we were only running anywhere from 12 to 16. And at that time, we were running a few more in Albany because when we first started, we always had a few more in Albany. So it was just kind of how the numbers worked. And And the events continued to sell out in that region, and we would add more sites, and they continue to sell. So we had a few more, and that's kind of how we ended up with the number of sites we have across the state. Albany does seem to have quite a few high quality golf courses that are willing to host these events, more so than maybe Binghamton, Utica, Syracuse. But I think it's just mostly because the events have continually sold out, so we were able to add other venues, and they sold out as well.
So explain how the season-long points list works.
Well, in 2015, what we've done is created a points list where people compete at each individual amateur series tournament, and based on their net finish, they get an allotment of points, which goes towards the season-long points list. And at the end of the year, we take the top 112 players, men and women, on that list to go play in the championship at Oak Hill. It has worked out great the 2 years that we've actually used it, but just like anything, there's some things that we might be tweaking to improve on going forward with it.
The players that do end up qualifying for this championship event at Oak Hill, what do you think it means to them to be able to play at such a prestigious and venerable course as Oak Hill is?
Well, I think a lot of people enjoy playing in these events because it does give an opportunity to play at Oak Hill, and of course playing at a place as special as Oak Hill doesn't happen too often. But I think a lot of people also like to see their name on that points list and compete against their friends and some of their other golfing counterparts in their region. I always hear players saying that I'm going to come and get you today to their buddies who might be a couple hundred points behind them because they think they're going to play well in their flight in that particular tournament. And I think that plays a lot into it as well. I think the competition is really what drives people out there for the most part.
Moving forward into next year, is there anything that you feel like you can improve on with conducting these tournaments, or is there anything that you've seen over the last couple of years that really seems like it could be better, or that you could work on it?
I think there are a lot of things that we can improve upon, and we will be. We're going to be sending out a survey to all our players this year to get their feedback, which is very important to us. I take it very seriously what our competitors, what they think and what their experience was like and what we can do to better that experience. I think we're going to look at revising the points list a little bit to maybe include a gross division. So if you don't want to compete for net prizes, that's okay. We have a lot of good players, low handicappers who come out there to play, but they haven't had an opportunity to really earn points based off of their gross finish. So what we're going to think of adding this winter is that gross division, so you can just come out and play your scratch ball, and you can get points based on that as well. Those are just a few of our bigger ideas, but I think there's going to be a bunch of other small things that we do to tweak it just to make them a little bit better.
Sure. So is there any possibility of growth within these tournaments? Obviously you hosted 28, could have been 29, but there was one rain out. Do you have the time within your busy schedule in the summer? Or?
I think with the number that we're at right now, I'm pretty happy with because, it does keep us very busy in the office, and we have our interns and myself and our other full-time staff member traveling all over the state to administer these pretty much all from April to October. But like I said, I think we can increase the number of participants who play in each event, and that's really where I think we can grow it, is by increasing the numbers at individual sites while keeping the number we run pretty constant. Once we add more and more and more, if we were to do that, I think that could dilute the product that we are providing to our members, and I really want to focus our time and effort onto the number that we really feel that we can provide at this point.
Thanks a lot, Andrew. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Again, Dan Thompson with Andrew Hickey, the Director of Rules and Competition for the New York State Golf Association.